Alright, so for this video, I'm going to do something a little different than I've ever done. I'm going to talk about some of my favorite drum hacks, what I like to call life hacks for drummers. Now these are little things that I've figured out over the course of my career on different hardware solutions and things that I've just needed as a drummer. Now, if you're looking to enhance or supercharge your playing or your knowledge of all things drums, it would definitely be a good idea to turn around and subscribe to my channel. So let's go ahead and get started with my top 10 favorite drummer hacks. So we all have them, right? The drumstick that's been played until it's completely chewed up, whittled down, the head is completely worn off. So what do we do with these drumsticks? Well, I have a couple of hacks that'll help you reutilize these old drumsticks. So I think everyone knows the trick with taking an old tin can, heating it up, and burning a porthole into your bass drum. Now back when I was a kid, this was actually a pretty relatively easy thing to do. I would find myself an old coffee can, made of tin or aluminum. I'd let it sit there till it got red hot, then I'd go ahead and take an oven mitt, pick up the coffee can, and push it right through my drum head. And ideally, you would do this when mom and dad weren't home. Now the challenge these days is you're gonna be hard pressed to find one of those old school aluminum coffee cans. You can't find them anywhere. You go to buy coffee in the store, you either see something like this, or they're made out of cardboard. So looking around my kitchen, the only thing I could find that was still made of aluminum was, in this case, it was a can of chicken breast. So this can is metal. It'll do the job. But can you see the problem? And that's where my old drumstick comes in handy. Now the first thing I'm gonna do is take the miter saw and chop away all this torn up part of the stick. All done. Okay, next I'm going to take the piece I just cut and my aluminum chicken salad can. Safety being paramount. My hole, my screw, and my can. I'm gonna thread the screw in there and get it started. Done. And we have what looks like a plunger. Now, what we're gonna do is turn on your stove and heat this up. Now, if you're a kid and you're doing this, make sure you get some adult supervision and you don't want to burn down your house. Now, in the olden days when we used coffee cans, you would just heat this up, you'd get yourself an oven mitt and you try not to burn your hand off. But hopefully doing it this way, the can will get hot and this stick will not conduct the heat. Okay, ready? Just follow me down. I'm gonna go straight through the head. Done. Okay, so here's our finished hole, and here's our little piece of head that's left over. Now I have my black O-ring. And once you have it all done, this is what you're left with. Oh, shit. The best way to hang something on a wall is to find the stud. Now you can do that a couple of ways, just by knocking on your wall. But honestly, I can never find a stud that way. The other thing you can use is one of these fancy stud finders. But honestly, I get a lot of false positives with these and I end up putting a nail into a wall and there's no stud there. So that's gonna bring us back to our old broken drumsticks. So what I did with my old stick is I cut the butt end off, like so. Then I went ahead and glued on a very strong neodymium magnet. These are super strong magnets and they'll stick to pretty much anything metal. Now these magnets you could find at most hardware stores and you could certainly find them online. But once you have your magnet fastened to the top of your drumstick, all you have to do is move it across the wall until you find the stud. Now, how do I know that that's a stud? Well, that's a spot where somebody had screwed or hammered in a nail to put up the sheetrock. And of course, they're gonna hammer it right into the stud. So this whole line is gonna be a stud. But when I use this little puppy, there's absolutely no doubt. Now, what happens when you have that snare drum that's super bitey, or you have that tom where the ring is out of control? Well, one solution is to use what they call moon gel. And these are little gel squares that you place on the drum, and that's gonna dampen it and take away some of that bite. The challenge is, moon gel can be very expensive. So my hack, taking a ride to the local grocery store and picking up one of these babies. That's right, it's a gumball machine sticky hand, 25 cents. So here it is without, here it is with. Now, it would sound better if the drum was in tune, but I think you get the idea. another thing you do is cut these up. Sometimes I'll just take the fingers off or do something like that if you want to add a little less. So if you're looking for more attack, there you go. Now we've all been here, right? You show up to a gig, there's a cymbal stand, but the stand has no sleeve, giving us this horrible metal on metal connection between your cymbal and the stand. It's a perfect recipe to crack your $400 cymbal. Now what you could do is go to the store and buy a bag of, say, 4 or 5 of these for about $6. Or you head down to your local hardware store and pick up a couple of feet of tubing for 63 cents a foot. Now this tubing, if you look at it, fits right on top of my cymbals. Well, I just went down to the hardware store, I took one of my cymbal sleeves, and I went ahead and matched it. This 2-foot cut of tubing has already lasted me about 10 years. And look how much more I have left. Anytime I run low, I get out my scissors or pocket knife, and I cut about 1.5 inches, do about 4 or 5 of them, and go ahead and throw them in my cymbal bag. And I'm never caught in that position of trying to do the deed and play my cymbal without proper protection. Remember, always bring a rubber tube. So the next hack I'm going to show you centers around mic stands. Now, mic stands are something that most people just use to mount their microphones. Duh! But I'm going to show you ways of mounting other things to it that really help me with all of my production in my studio. I teach a lot of my students online. I'm originally from New York, moved down to Atlanta, so I have students pretty much all over the world, and we do lessons via Skype. So if you look at my setup here, you'll notice that I have this monitor hanging from the ceiling, and this is where I sit behind my drums and give my lesson. So if you notice, I have my video cameras showing all different angles. So I have a camera over here, I got a camera up on the monitor, I got a video camera down there, and these on this setup are just webcams. But the trick is mounting them, because you want to be able to find good angles. So one hack that I use, being that most drummers that are professional tend to have mic stands. I had bought these little onstage mic clips for those pencil microphones, those long skinny microphones. And the edge of the webcam that normally hooks onto a screen, like the way it's doing up there, it just fits right inside of that mic clip. And being that it's on a stand, I have all those angles where I could turn around and point it at my drums any which way I need to. So this is what it looks like. Now these mic clips are perfect for mounting a small skinny camera, such as say your phone, and that's what I'm using right now. I'm using my iPhone. So what I'm gonna do is, as I'm recording this, I'm gonna put the microphone right in the stand. Pop it in there. Now this is just wedged into the mic clip, and turn it around. And if you notice, being that it's on a mic stand, I can tilt it. I have full range to really kind of position it wherever I want, and it holds the phone super solid. And I'll go ahead and stick a link in the description to show you exactly what kind of mic clips we're talking about. So before you fold up your mic stands and throw them in a closet, think about other things that you could do with them. If you're not a teacher, then you might not use something like this. But for me, I do a lot of teaching online, and I also record a lot of videos to YouTube. Say I have some sheet music or something that I want to throw into the video, I would just go ahead in post-production and I would add the sheet music. But that takes a lot of time. It's a lot of tedious effort to animate and create all that music and then put it into post-production on your video. So what I started doing, which is a lot quicker, I'm just using a regular old whiteboard. But once again, if you buy a whiteboard, like say from a school or something big enough that's mounted, you could spend a few $100s on a whiteboard. At least one big enough for what I needed. So here's yet another hardware store hack that I found. So instead of buying a whiteboard, what I did was go to Home Depot and I bought what's called a panel board. This is panel board. If you notice, it's just a regular board. It's kind of floppy. The front side of it has this sheen white coating on it. Now what I did is I went ahead and took the panel board and I mounted it to my infinite white wall over here. So these come in 4x8 sheets when I got it at Home Depot. It was kind of a pain in the neck to get home. But if you wanted to do a whole wall in whiteboard, it's a super cheap option. I think it was something like $12 for a 4x8 sheet. It was something insane like that. It really was super cheap. But what's awesome about this is I can just go ahead and, take out my marker, write my notes right on the board, and it comes out super awesome in the video. Then of course when I need to change it, since it's a whiteboard mounted to my wall, you just wipe it away and you start over again. Really nice, super efficient, and allows me to write instead of animating in post-production. So something to think about if you're a drummer, you teach lessons online, you need to display notes, or if you're just a video creator like I am. Now, a lot of questions I've gotten from students and subscribers is about my stage that I have down here in my basement. So I built this entire stage from scratch, and I used pallets. That's right, the wood pallets that you see in hardware stores or whatever. If you go up on Craigslist or any of those kind of selling websites and just look for used pallets, a lot of times stores just stack them up and they throw them out or they give them away for free. But each one of these sections, it consists of 2 pallets with a piece of plywood on top, and then some of this remnant carpet that I got at Home Depot. Super, super cheap. Then I just went ahead and hammered that carpeting onto it with finishing nails. So I didn't even have to glue it down or anything. I just used some finishing nails and kind of finished it out that way. Now, if you're a drummer, you've had this problem. You've sat down at a drum set that you set up, even on a carpet sometimes. You start playing, and halfway through the song, your bass drum starts wandering. It starts moving forward. Your hi-hat starts moving to the left. Everything starts kind of slowly, with each hit, inching away from you until everything's all out of whack. And the way I solved that problem is the carpet that's on top of this drum riser. It's like those welcome mats that you see in any department store. And what I like about them is that they have this Burberry texture to them that also works with Velcro. So I have my whole drum riser made of these mats. And if you can see on the seams here, I've stitched them all together. Here's like the rubber seam that goes in between them, which gives it a cool kind of industrial look. But what also is cool about it is I've taken some Velcro and I've attached it to the bottom of each of my pedals. And what that does, if I try to pull this, I can't even pull it. This one, there it goes. It comes up, but those pedals don't go anywhere. And because the pedals are nice and solid on the carpet, it means that my drums don't shift. They don't move, they don't go anywhere. So that's a cool hack for making sure that all your drums stay in the right spot. And again, these floor mats can be purchased at pretty much any big box hardware store. And they're not particularly expensive. And same thing goes with the Velcro. You just get yourself a roll of Velcro and it sticks right to the bottom of all your pedals. Again, this hack is a little bit more specific to drummers who teach online or like to shoot video. Now, if you know anything about video, video is all about lighting. So something that I've gotten a lot of use out of are these clamp lights. I have them clamped onto, you guessed it, a microphone stand. But these clamp lights actually provide a lot of good light. Now, going back to this LED, notice it's got these barn doors. Now this essentially turns this light into a spot, and I could focus that beam anywhere. You don't really get that with the clamp lights. So my solution actually came out of having babies. Now make sure you hear me on this, you don't have to have babies to do this. But since I have babies, I bought a lot of formula, and formula comes in these cartons. They actually happen to have like a silver metallic coating on the inside. And of course the top is just one of these translucent caps, which works great as a light filter. Clamp light is drilled into one of my containers. What that does is that creates a spot, and that gives you what's called a hair light. For those of you that don't know what a hair light is, it kind of provides a little halo of light around your subject, so it distinguishes the subject from the background. But effectively, I've taken my clamp light and I've turned it into a spot using a container of baby formula. Now this next hack is really cool and something I'm very proud of, especially if you're a drummer. We all probably at some point or another have purchased these. Now these are Vic Firth Steve Smith Talawans, so they're like the bundle sticks. It's kind of in between brushes and drumsticks. The only challenge with these is they're flippin' expensive. I think these Talawans were close to 20 bucks. And if you're a drummer, if you have any kind of experience playing with these, they're fantastic. So I'm not knocking them in any way, shape, or form. But if you use them a lot, they break, they fall apart really quick. And it's something that, you don't want to keep on replacing $20 bundle sticks every time you have a gig. Here's mine. This I made by myself. And how did I do that? What I did was I took the bamboo skewers that you use for shish kebabs. You could get these at any supermarket, and you get a giant package of them for 99 cents. You could probably get 4 or 5 wands out of one 99-cent package. I get a little pipe end cap, again, from the hardware store. You get a whole package of those. Those are super cheap. So basically what I do is I take the end cap, I make sure to fill the bottom of the end cap with some wood glue, and I bundle them up and fit them so they're snug inside of the end cap. Then all I do is I get some floral tape. This is the kind of tape that you use to tape together flowers. if you ever saw a bouquet for like a wedding bouquet. And you could get a roll of this green floral tape, and it's self-sticking. As you wrap it around itself, it hardens and tightens onto it. Basically, once the sticks are all inside the end cap, you just take the floral tape and wrap it around, wrap it around, wrap it around. And then on the tip up here is just some gaffers or some duct tape. It's black duct tape. That just protects all the dowels from the spot where you're rim shotting, where you're hitting the hi-hat, where you're hitting the snare drum. But these, actually, you can see they're a little ripped, but they last, you know? They last just as well and as long as a regular old bundle stick for about under $2 a pair. Now, I love to see what other drummers have come up with in terms of hacks. So do you have any awesome drum hacks that you could share with the rest of us? If you do, go ahead and throw it in the comments below. I love hearing from other drummers, and I respond to every single comment, so don't be shy. So if you took something away from this video, you feel like you learned something or got something out of it, consider subscribing to the channel. So I rely on drummers like you to spread the word. And if you have friends that are drummers, share it. And if you really want to go out of your way, you could also click the thumbs up and give us a like. So thanks for checking out the video, hope you dug it, and until next time, remember to always practice with purpose. See you next time.